everybody, it's Rebecca here at whitebirdmagazine, and I'm taking a break in your regularly scheduled Japan vlogs, or whatever, for a wrap-up. It's the end of the month. It's the beginning of a new month. It's time to talk about what I read in the last 31 days, which is not a lot at all. But that's okay. We're gonna get into it. It's only 4 books. However, one of them could be broken up into 3, so it would be 6 books. I don't know, it's up to you however you want to count it. An average rating of a 3.62, so not a stellar month, but not a bad month. The lowest was a 3, the highest was a 4. I mean, it's pretty standard. Nothing like wowed me, but nothing was like, ooh, this sucked either. So, you know, pretty good. Only 4 books though. /6, depending on how you break it up. So let's get into what I read. Let's start with the lowest, which is the 3-star read, which is Final Girls by Riley Sager. I just finished this one like the 31st. On the 31st, I finished this one. I read most of it all in 1 or 2 days. I got this from Book of the Month, and it's the story of the final girls. So in horror movies, there's always that one girl at the end that's alive. Well, in this case, there's the real situations where it happened, and there's 3 final girls who are still living, and there's like a little group of them, but they don't like to be called, one of them doesn't like to be called that. Anyway, something mysteriously happens to one of them, and so there's like things that are happening, and it's spiraling, and there's twists and stuff because it's a thriller. So there have to be, that's the whole point. There has to be twists. Otherwise, what's the point in reading a thriller? So I wanted something really fun and light and scary-ish. And I was scared like the first day when I started reading the killing spree part of it, like the horror movie part of it. And then it didn't really scare me from then on out. But anyway, so I gave it a 3. Mostly because I felt like the ending kind of came out of nowhere in a way. I wasn't quite sure I bought it. It was a good twist, but it was almost like, I'm gonna throw this twist in out of nowhere. I mean, there was like a hint to it earlier now that I think about it, but I'm gonna throw it in just to throw you off your game. And I felt like I felt cheated because I felt like I knew the answer, and then it wasn't anything that I thought it was. And so I appreciated the twist, but I also just didn't really buy it. Also, the main character really annoyed me at times. Like, girl on the train annoyed me, which people love, but I was not a fan because she annoyed me. Well, she annoyed me too. Next up is my 3.5-star read, and it's Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel, which I wanted to like more than I did. So basically it's kind of like an alien story told through documents, archival documents, kind of like Illuminae, but not as good as Illuminae. And so it's all of these like interviews and documents and whatnot, and there's a couple diaries as well, but it's not as thorough as Illuminae, and I felt like a lot of it was just set up for book 2, and so I was disappointed in a lot of that. I thought that it was an interesting concept, but I didn't get as like enraptured with it as I wanted to. I was like so excited, and then it just kind of let me down. So it took me a lot longer to read than it should have, because it is really easy, but meh, it was alright. I'd read the second book because I want to know what happened. I like the idea the aliens left some big giant robot type thing, and it's really cool. It's like a weaponized robot or whatever, but again, I feel like it was just a lot of setup. So maybe book 2 will be worth it. I don't know. I had 2 4-star reads, and the first one is my book that could be counted as 1 book, and it could be counted as 3 books. And if you saw last month's wrap-up, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami, which originally when it was published in 3, but they did a bind-up of it, so take it what you want. You could say I read 6 books, you could say I read 4 books, it's up to you. But this book is 1,157 pages. It's quite a chunker. It's been on my bookshelf for a really long time, and I was like, this summer I'm going to read it. So I did. I read it. It was good. It wasn't mind-blowing like I thought it was gonna be, and it was really slow. Like really slow. If you're interested in it, if you like Haruki Murakami, if you like surrealism mixed with a mystery and a romance and magical realism and all sorts of things, pick it up. if you get put off by slow storytelling and lacks of plots in ways, then maybe this is not a book for you. I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. So I liked it. I liked the way it made me think, and I appreciated it for its literary qualities. However, it was really, really, really slow. So I enjoyed it. I read it right before I went to Japan, which got me really excited about Japan. It's a weird love story kind of thing with like magical realism elements in it. It's really hard to explain, essentially. So yeah, 1Q84. But I did it. I read it. Check. Check. Sweating. It's so hot. It's so hot in this room right now because I had to turn the fan off. I'm sweating with these lights on my face and the long sleeve. Oh my god, I'm dying. The last book that I read this month, according to not finished but whatever, the last book I'm going to talk about that I've read this month, which I also gave 4 stars, was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I really enjoyed this one. It's a historical fiction set in the 1700s in England, and then all around Europe. It's basically, the main character is bi, and he's on his tour of Europe because he is a little bit of a rebellious bad boy and doesn't want to take on his father's estate and whatnot. And so he goes on this one last hurrah, basically, where he has to prove to his father that he can take over for him and whatnot. But he's also in love with his best friend, which is kind of an issue. He's a boy, and it's great. And so there's a bit of an issue with him trying to, you know, impress him and fall in love with him, but also he's rebellious and whatnot, and lots of bad things happen to them on this tour. There are highwaymen, there are pirates, there's alchemy going on here, there's like thievery and drunkenness and all sorts of things. It's exciting, it's fun, it travels all over Europe. It's pretty good, it's a fun read. I really enjoyed it. It also deals with mental illness and homophobia and the way that they treated mental illness back in the 1700s, which is pretty terrible but accurate, and just kind of that stigma. It deals with a lot of issues all across the board. There's also racism in there because one of the characters is mixed, and it's just, it hits a lot of those triggers. So if any of those things kind of get to you, be wary of it, but it does it in a nice way. I really appreciated it. I liked it, and I picked it up because I'm one of the judges for the BookTube Awards this year, and my category is historical fiction. I've heard really good things about it. It's one of the top buzzed historical fiction YA releases of the year, so when I got it from the library, I immediately had to read it because I didn't want to lose the chance when I know I'm gonna have to read it for the BookTube Awards anyway. So it's really good if you like historical fiction, if you like adventure stories and pirates and marauders, pick it up because it's really good. Well, that's what I read in the month of July. I went to Japan, so that's partly why I didn't read as much, and I also read 1Q84. Which was a chunker. So let me know what you read this month. Hopefully August will pick up for me. It's the last month of summer vacay, so we will see what happens. But let me know what your thoughts are, what you've read, and thanks for watching. That's it for me today. I'll see you next time.